be like, hey, what's up, guys? You can't do it because you need an apparatus to be able to breathe. That's number one. Number two, there's a lot of radiation because Mars does not have any magnetic field. So therefore, you're not protected from the radiation from space and the sun. So these are things that we have to worry about. And then it will be a little bit, while it has some of the nitrogen that I mentioned to grow crops, it will take some manipulation in order for us to use the soil to be able to grow it. Can it grow? Yes, but it's a little bit of an arduous location to grow plants, so you're going to have to add some additives and so forth to enhance the growth of plants.
Gentleman here, and then back.
Hello. Good evening, Mashal and everybody. I think you started your conversation or your lecture saying that we are endangered by a large asteroid that will wipe all humanity out. So you looked at it as a way of survivability of the species. Now I think the closest that most people know is the Ark of Noah, that took couples from every species and they survived until the tide went down. Now, this is one issue, and I guess you also mentioned the issue of survivability or changing the structure of a different planet that somewhat closer to our environment, which is very hard to find. Now, everybody believes that there is some planet that is exactly the same like Earth, but we haven't yet found it. So perhaps we should look for that planet.
جانب الكسل الفكري أيضا في جانب الإيديولوجيا قد يكون فضيلة، بمعنى أنك لا تناقش هذه الأمور مناطق غير خاضعة للتفكير. فالسؤال الآن فيما يتعلق بهذا.
I'll speak in Arabic for a bit. العلم يعني شيء واسع، وزي ما تفضلت شلون حنا نتفهم العلم ونتقبله. حنا الآن نتقبله من الناحية الغربية، لكن لو تشوف الناحية الشرقية وتشوف العلوم الشرقية، يعني لديهم من العلوم ما يكفي. فبالتالي يعني it's a balance زي ما تفضلت. Again in English, I was just saying that the knowledge that my colleague was just talking about was based on Western principles. However, there's a lot of knowledge also in the East, and it's a balance of how you can manage the East and the West to be able to understand how we can actually move forward. And as she said, looking at metaphysics, looking at how you can utilize that knowledge to move forward, looking at history and understanding what we've learned from the ancients, all of that comes to play.
Thank you. Yes.
Questions?
Thank you very much for your presentations. In the list of questions you presented at the end of your intervention, you ask why it's important to know about the origin of the universe. And I want to know your answer. What do you think about that? In your presentation, you said that chaos is not the same as random. But what if the universe was created with random? I don't know, maybe this is a metaphysical search in the sense that we
Last one for you.
we start with the principle of sufficient reason. Everything happens by a sufficient reason. But what if not? What if randomness, hazard, created all we have? I don't know, what could be the difference if it was random and if it was chaotic?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. That's a heavy one. Thank you for your question. Okay, I'll start with your second part of the question. What's the difference basically between a chaotic and random, and which one is the universe? As the evolution of the universe went today, and more importantly, as the evolution of our our galaxy, our solar system, our planet Earth, water, sun, and all the material of survival of our own lives today, I have the difficulty believing that all this was random, because randomness is the lack of pattern, and I see clear patterns of at least fractals in the universe that tells me that this is not random. Even though it's unpredictable, it has a pattern. And that's the difference between chaos and randomness. True, today in physical or statistical analysis, we use randomness, but actually, like Monte Carlo simulation, we use biased randomness. We bias our information to direct it to where we think we know something. And you mentioned the point that escaped my mind. But for the first question, why is this important? I think also to me, and perhaps to everybody in this room, as humans, we like to find reasons and meanings for everything that we do, for our life. And here he grew 70 years in time, relative to them just taking a literally 5-minute trip and back to a black hole. And this is, again, the concept of time, because in the black hole, the space-time is warped, is length, that's called like spaghettification, or stretched out. So the amount of 1 second to the next is much longer than in normal space. So what took him 5 minutes took this guy 80 years. And it depends on if you go to a black hole, it depends on the speed that you go. So on this movie, yeah, for me it was I will never watch it again. I really enjoyed the soundtrack. Maybe Dr. Haytham has a different opinion though.
I think you asked the wrong question. You should have asked me about Star Wars.
Yeah.
But with regards to Interstellar, I think the best part of it, frankly speaking, is when they landed on the water planet and you had that ticking, tick, 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 which was every second, which correlated, as my colleague just mentioned, to the years that their colleague aged. I think that was smart. Okay. Yeah. I also think that they done a good job of how they presented what a black hole would look like, which was further verified later on. But storyline, I would say, yeah, should have asked me about Star Wars.
One final question, maybe? Yeah.
Yes, I have a question. What's the link between the time and size? And in which level of size time could be zero or not there?
What do you mean by size?
Size, yani, for example, if I go from this point to this point, my size, it will take 1 second. If we have insect, it will take maybe 10 minutes. Okay. So my size has a link with the time, right? This is what I want to understand about the link between time and size. Maybe if I become very bigger, the time will be very small. Okay?
Yeah. Okay.
Yes, please.
Well, thank God for physics. I think I would like to just divert your perception a little bit. If time is different for size, it means that we need to measure the time we need to be at the sun to know what time is, and we need to be at the moon to know what time is, and we need to be at Earth to know what time is. But time is more correlated to motion, not size. And if we know motion, then distance is a fixed parameter, so we fix distance. And the distance that a small size will cross in time is larger than when a big size will cross in time. So this is where size comes in. Size is a variable, but distance is the fixed thing that you should reference your idea to, if that makes sense. So a larger size, he will need less time to cross a distance, but a smaller size would need, as you've mentioned, with your body or with the size of an ant. So having an ant crossing a larger distance or the same distance with small size, it means that the distance for her is segmented more than the distance for you. And then time or seconds are passing more for the ant than it is passing for you. But this idea, it is correlated, but it's more relative to the motion, not to the size of an object. Because this is one of the first, or the difference between classical and, for example, quantum mechanics that came afterwards, is that if they want to if we want to measure our motion, to measure the motion of the car, we measure the motion of the car relative to the street that it's driving in, or the motion of the car relative to the earth, or relative to the sun. What are we referring our motion to? Technically, in classical physics, we refer it to the nearest thing. In quantum physics, we refer it to quantization, to the smallest thing. So we have to have a reference to measure time or distance. And size is a variable. It's the motion that is more correlated to time, if that makes sense. I hope I answered your question. Maybe Dr. Haytham has a comment.
Can I ask you a question? بالعربي ولا English؟ الأرض تدور حولك، العالم يدور حولك. Yes or no? No? هذا سؤالها، هذه النقطة اللي هي تو ذكرت. That's the point that she just made. Okay? You need a point of reference. Okay? If I make my point of reference, you right now, then the universe rotates around you. You need to choose your point of reference of where things move. We're choosing our point of reference in our solar system as the sun. Within our galaxy, the center of the galaxy. Okay? And that's how we define our motion within our solar system, within our galaxy, and so forth. Okay? And then me, you are part of that motion. But if I define that no, you are the center of motion, then you become a center. You are static and everything is rotating around you. وساعتها وانا اخوك تقول العالم الدنيا كلها تدور حولي. Definition. We're done.
Yeah.
شكرا لكم. Thank you everybody.
شكرا لكم.
Thank you.
One more.
Okay, one final question, please.
One more.
Not about the world surrounds us.
السلام عليكم. أنا هي جيت متأخر لأن هي الساعة 8 وقالوا إنه بديتوا من قبل ما نعرف ليش. بس
الله
الحقيقة
يحييك.
الله يسلمك. أنا الحقيقة بتكلم عن الفيزيكس الحديثة. The new physics based on two theories, the quantum theory that goes with the atom and beyond, and the Einstein theory, which is the relativity theory. I'll go back 100 years back, and I will quote what Max Planck says exactly, okay? And he has 7 research papers, and I will quote the conclusion, which is half page. And Max Planck, he is the president of Kaiser Wilhelm for Advancement of Science, so the highest ranking academic level in Germany at that time that's leading the sciences in the world. So what he says, between philosophy and science, the philosophical use the brain or the mind and the logic. The science use the facts that is touchable by experience. So the quote, لقد مضى زمن كان العلم والفلسفة فيه غريبين إن لم يكونا نقيضين، لكن هذه الأزمة مرت، فقد أدرك الفلاسفة ليس من حقهم أن يملوا على العلماء أهدافهم والمنهجيات اللازمة لتحقيق تلك الأهداف. وأدرك العلماء أن نقطة البداية لأبحاثهم لا تكمن فقط في إدراكهم الحسي، ولا يمكن very important sentence ولا يمكن أن يوجد العلم دون قدر صغير من الماورائيات الميتافيزيكس. تذهلنا الفيزياء الحديثة بالأخص لكونها تؤيد حقيقة العقيدة القديمة التي توضح لنا أن هناك حقائق تتواجد منفصلة عن الإدراك الحسي، حقائق facts، وأن هناك إشكاليات وإضرابات تصير عند هذه الحقائق أعظم قيمة من أكبر كنوز عالم التجربة. المقالة رقم 7 في مختارات بحثية. هذا ماكس بلانك. فساينس we cannot say science is finite. Still, we are at the beginning. Quantum physics, that Max Planck, he brings that theory. I quote King Abdullah, University of Science and Technology. He says, we are at the beginning of the quantum theory applications. Thank you.
Thank you, Lil.
Should I go for it? شكرا جزيلا دكتوري على السؤال ده. اعتذر منك،
No,
السؤال
take your time.
يحتاج تطويل ومرة
It is a
مهم.
very interesting question.
اسمح لي دقيقة بس. I thank you صراحة، ولكن الجواب كان في سؤالك طال عمرك. يعني you made it very clear how to move forward. The question answers itself. Well done on an amazing question and answer.
Thank you.
Indeed. Yeah, I have a couple of remarks to say about this, and starting with Al-Alim Max Planck. I feel that he's my godfather. I am deeply in awe of all his research and the revolutionary idea of quantization that he proposed. And scientists like Max Planck, and I also think like Dirac or like Wolfgang Pauli, when I read about them, they always direct and promote in science and some of the metaphysics behind it, or even Schrödinger, all the founders of quantum mechanics. The scientists that founded quantum mechanics, they believe in this because quantum mechanics just emerged from a space of unknown, kind of. I compliment his quote and your question and what we said, absolutely we cannot. I think that scientists should not even separate their brain capabilities and their their personal experience in metaphysics to their own scientific research. If I can also quote, I think Richard Feynman said about Schrödinger. Do you know where Schrödinger came with the wave equation of motion? He literally dreamt of it. He woke up one day and he wrote it. The equation of motion of quantum mechanics cannot be derived from anything before. This is a personal experience that science evolved on. And also Pauli discovered a property of matter, which is the spin. Pauli's spins. And he discovered this within the 2 years when he was in collaboration in research work with the psychologist Carl Jung. And Carl Jung was searching the unconsciousness at this time. Most of his unconscious study and interpretation of dreams, Pauli was his patient. And from this together, Pauli made discoveries in science, and Carl Jung published most of his work. So the sense, the personal experience and the unconscious complements scientific research. If we make science dry, we will only build smaller steps. When we implement our personal experiences, I think this is where we can leap in research, such leap as from classical to quantum physics. So I completely believe in this idea in your question and what you said. And for me as a scientist, I try to go by it and to never neglect this part of it. And I always think that in Western science there's a contradiction, but with more experience, I think truth will reveal and people will show, and the metaphysics will not be a neglected part of the physics. It will be a complementary part.
Thank you indeed.
Thank you.
Thank you indeed. Since you're a big fan of Max Planck, I'm a big fan of his quote when he said, I'll add some Morgan Freeman effects here. Science cannot solve the ultimate mystery of nature. And that is because in the last analysis, we ourselves are part of the mystery that we are trying to solve. Thank you indeed. With this, we conclude our conference for today. The conference is off to a wonderful start, and I hope to see you tomorrow at 2 p.m. to resume and pursue our investigations, philosophical and scientific, on knowledge and exploration, space-time humanity. Please join us for dinner on the ground floor and spend a convivial, that's a new word I learned, a convivial moment together. Thank you all and good night.
Thank you.